motion's been made and second. All those in favor signify by a roll call vote.
Ms. Astrop?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Conwell?
Aye. Next is our budget work session presentation.
Good afternoon, members of the Greensville County Board of Supervisors
Good afternoon.
and citizens. I am here to present the fiscal year 2023 County Administrator's proposed budget. But before I go into the details of this budget, I would like for Pam Lipsey to come forth, because this does have budget implications, to talk about the bank card fees.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right, Dr. Woolridge asked me to be here today to speak to you about credit card fees that the county is currently absorbing for customers who pay with their credit or debit card. In the years past, credit cards were not charged. The fee was not, passed on to the consumer. It was considered a cost of doing business. Well, in recent years, the state of Virginia passed Virginia Code 2.2-614.1, which allows the Commonwealth to pass fees on to the customers. However, there is one stipulation in this code that says you cannot charge customers excess fees, more than what you have incurred, the fees that you have incurred. So in polling across the state, the surrounding counties around us, the majority of them do charge a fee. It varies from 2 to 3%, with Sussex County being the only locality around us that absorbs the fee as we do at this time. Some localities around the state only charge a fee for payments that are made in the office. They don't charge a fee for payments that are made online. In 2021, we processed $1.4 million in credit card payments. The fees we incurred were $20,837. So this is somewhere around 1.5% in fees that we paid for the monies that we collected. And after speaking with our credit card processor, we found that the fees are based on what type of card you use, whether it's debit or credit, and what type of credit card you use. Debit cards are the cheapest to run, and business cards and rewards cards, credit cards, are the highest. The major percentage of our transactions are made with debit cards. Before the implementation of the online payment portal, we only accepted credit cards in the office or through Official Payments, which was our third-party vendor. Those fees were paid, that the consumers paid, they were paid to Official Payments for the use of that service. So in comparison to payments that were made through Official Payments, and if we were to charge a 1.5% fee, if you made a $500 payment through Official Payments, you would have paid a fee of $18.90. But if we charge 1.5%, that fee would be $7.50. So, of course, this would be much lower than the fees that the consumers were paying through Official Payments. Since we've had the online payment portal, we've had an increase in payments. So, of course, now our fees are a little bit higher. And I was speaking to our credit card processor today, and we are going to be ordering keypads because we have been running everything as a credit card. Even a debit card we run as a credit card. So we're going to be switching, and we're going to get keypads where we can actually run them as debit cards, and that will decrease our fees, for what we're paying now. So a few things to consider before you make your decision on whether you want to charge fees or not. The citizens are always very grateful when we speak to them, when we tell them that, at this time there's no fee. They're always very grateful, because of course they cite the economy, gas prices, those kinds of things. and we need to consider also the assessments on the used vehicles now are extremely high, and that's caused taxes to be extremely high. And of course, we've had a lot of complaints about that. Another thing to consider is we collect administrative fees. That's the fee that we put on May 1st. It's $20 per each ticket that is owed, that we could use that money to offset these credit card fees. So for example, in FY21, we paid $14,337 in bank card fees, but we collected $28,963 in administrative fees. So we could take that money to kind of offset the fees if you chose, not to charge a fee. So that's all I have. If you have any questions.
I do, Pam. For clarity, you said if I didn't come into your office and pay the credit card, but I did it over the phone, then you don't inquire a fee. Did I understand you? Make sure I'm
Some
clear.
localities, we don't charge a fee at all right now.
I'm on the principle I'm talking about under, if they use what you're saying right now, and if you start charging a fee, if I didn't come to the office and pay the credit card, but I did it over the phone, will I pay or not pay a fee? That's what I'm asking.
That would be up to the board. Like I said, right
Oh,
now.
no.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it would be, if you decided to charge a fee, you could either do it only in the office, or you could do it online or in the office.
Okay, I thought I heard you say something different. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Some localities only charge a fee for people that come in the office. They don't charge, if they pay online, then they don't charge a fee.
that's what I was trying to. That's what I was
Yeah.
trying to look at.
So some localities will do that.
Yes.
Trying to get more people to use the online payment portal instead of coming in the office to pay.
Do we have any idea versus those that go online versus those that come to the office? Do we have any numbers on that?
I did a kind of comparison for December, January, and February, and we had 1,502 transactions, and 697 of those were via the web, and the other 805 were in the office. So, but we're seeing, the numbers, because as more and more people are becoming familiar with the online portal, it's becoming more and more popular for people to pay online instead of, versus coming in the office.
Well, if I was going to pay, I would do it online
Yeah.
versus if I'm going to come to the office, it wouldn't make a whole lot of difference.
This was a new,
Right.
thing we just started, a few months ago. So this is, the first tax cycle we've had with, our own online payments instead of them having to go through official payments, which is what they've had to do in the past.
And then the next thing, if we're receiving, you said administrative fee to start on May the 1st, and it's only going to charge us in the neighborhood, we getting $28,000 versus the other method, we getting 15, so aren't we still like 14,000?
So we're collecting, in administrative fees, we're collecting $28,000.
Okay.
But we were only charged, in bank card fees, we were charged $14,000. So we're receiving double from the administrative fees versus what we have been paying in bank card fees.
Yeah, because I guess I'm looking at, as a consumer, if I'm using my credit card, then I wouldn't use it. If I had to pay a fee to use my credit card, I wouldn't use it, just straight out.
Yeah.
But I think for the convenience for the consumer, I would like to see us, based on what you just said, we got that extra, almost double, so we still would have $14,000 to good. I would definitely not seeing us charge a consumer a fee,
Yeah.
Well, let me ask.
unless we was running, go ahead, unless we was getting unless we was running a deficit on it.
Yeah, let me
Yeah.
ask another question. With using the credit cards and paying, do you think we're getting more taxes paid in a timely manner
Yes.
than we would be if we didn't use the credit cards?
Yes, I do.
I have a tendency to agree with Mr. Kane. I just hate to see with the citizens now, with the situation with the economy like it is, putting any additional charges on them.
Well, and
I
I know,
struggle with
this last year and this year as well, like I said, the assessments on used vehicles are just through the roof. And, we've had so many complaints. I mean, and I feel it myself because, my taxes went up as well. We've had so many complaints about the taxes being higher because of the assessments of the vehicles. And, you really need to think about if you want to add another fee for them to pay, at right now,
Yeah, I got some problems with that assessment too. You're penalizing people to keep the vehicles longer, and now I don't. I
Yeah.
don't understand, I don't get that, really, to go back and charge them.
But if I heard what you said, we're already charging a fee anyway if they pay it through the old
Only
system?
through official payments, and very few people pay through official payments anymore, because actually I'm gonna suspend that program, because we have very, very few people that, some of the older ones that were used to using official payments may use it once in a while, but it's very rare that I get a payment through official payments anymore. So most people have gone to using our online portal to make their payments now.
I mean, I'm a frequent pay online with my card person,
Yeah,
and just about everywhere that I pay online with my card charges a small fee.
oh, do they really? Oh.
I have never been
I
charged
guess I'm
a
lucky,
fee.
because I've never charged a
I've
fee when
never
I
been
pay
charged
online.
a fee for using my card online,
I
never.
don't pay any additional fees either.
Yeah.
I have one question.
Sure.
You said the percentage was like 2 to 3 cents?
Normally,
Because-
across the board, what we found is people were charging like 2 to 3%.
Yeah, I see, if I'm not mistaken, at the courthouse, they have a list up for like 4% if you use your credit card.
Oh, really? Well, I checked with, other treasurer's offices, and that was kind of the norm across the state, was 2 to 3%. But, based on what we're paying, we're only paying about 1.5%. And like I said, we can't charge the citizens more, like we can't charge them 2%, but we're only paying 1.5%. Because you can't make money off of your credit card fees based on the state code. So we, if we did charge, we would have to keep it in that 1.5%, range. And, and it can always be adjusted down the road if, we see that we're paying more, at some point, then we can always adjust it down the road, if y'all decided that you did want to charge a fee. Okay? Any more questions? Okay, thank you. Y'all have a good day.
You too.
And just so you'll know, when we were initially working on our budget, it was anticipated that there would be a deficit. But since Ms. Lipsey has additional information and there's a means to offset those costs, then I would recommend that we not charge those additional fees.
Oh, that would be mine.
Thank
I'll say amen to that.
Yeah, if any way we can get around not doing it, I'd much rather not charge
Right.
anymore.
Thank you. Okay, so we're ready to proceed now with our discussion. Before I go into the presentation, I just want to acknowledge the team that assisted with this budget process. Gary Cyphers, the Assistant County Administrator, Tamika Green, the Director of Finance, and Alice Whitby, the Finance Manager. And I want to publicly say that they have done a phenomenal job. We have worked very well together to present what we consider a balanced proposed budget. So you have a copy of the presentation, and I'm going to ask that you jot down any comments that you have, and at the conclusion of the presentation, the team will be very happy to answer any questions that you have. So starting on page 2. So when we did our estimation of the revenues, it's anticipated $22,615,478. This is based on receipts as of February 2022. When you look at the expenditures, you're looking at $26,915,268. And this is based on all departmental and agency requests, and we have a few new requests, and I'll share those with you later. So when we started off with our budget, we had a deficit of $4,299,790. So needless to say, in order to present to you a proposed budget that's balanced, we had to make significant cuts. If we were to leave the deficit as is, that means that we would have to recommend a tax increase. And in this climate, we certainly do not want to do that. So next, let's talk about what are some across-the-board increases and decreases. So the first across-the-board increase is the 5% salary increase, and that's for all county employees and comp board or compensation board funded position. So the salaries for fiscal year 22 that was adopted was $5.6 million. The salaries for fiscal year 23 proposed is $6.2 million, and this also includes your fringes. So overall, you're going to see an increase in the salary plus fringes in the amount of $593,579. So that's the first across-the-board increase. The second across-the-board increase is that is the health insurance premium. It is anticipated that the increase is 18.8%. And this is for all full-time employees and comp board employees. The next across-the-board increase is the Virginia retirement system. They have an anticipated increase of 0.98% or $115,232. And then we have the health insurance credit through the Virginia retirement center system. Luckily, we're seeing a decrease, 0.08%, which will result in a very small savings of $4,013. So next we're going to look at Fund 1, and Fund 1 is your general fund budget. First, we have animal control. That's budget number 35100. There are no significant changes. So when I say there are no significant changes, that means it includes what I just discussed, the across-the-board increases and decreases. So whenever you see significant changes, it includes the 5% salary increase, the health insurance premium, the VRS monthly employer contribution, and the health insurance credit. So again, animal control has no significant changes. Next is the area on aging. That's number 53230 on slide number 7. That is level funded. When you see level funded, these are agencies that do not require salary increases, health insurance, and all the like. So they're going to receive the exact amount of funding as the previous fiscal year 22. On slide 8, Board of Supervisors, 11010. So in 2019, on April the 29th, the board adopted Resolution 19-145 that establishes a 4% annual compensation increase. So in your budget, you're going to see the increase that will be effective January of each year. Also, we increased the travel and training budget by $5,000. On page 9, or slide 9, you have your building inspections. That's 34100. No significant changes. But I will state that you will see a decrease in this budget because the retirement of the building official, and it's very unlikely that we're going to replace that person at that same salary. Slide number 10 is Circuit Court 21100. September the 20th, 2021, the Board of Supervisors approved $5,600 annual funding to support the law clerk position. And this cost is split amongst all of the 6 judicial districts. Next is Circuit Court. This is for the clerk's office, 21,600. You have 2 capital outlay projects. One is for the video system, and the other is for the door access control. So the video system is anticipated to cost $7,059, and that is to ensure the safety and security of employees as well as documents. Unfortunately, because of the way it's situated, it is very easy for someone to grab very important books and documents and walk away with them. So this will help with the security of those documents and the safety of the employees. And also the door access, that's anticipated to be $6,130. That's for the equipment and security that will need to be placed on the doors. And each will have a reoccurring monthly monitoring fee. Those numbers are being gathered, so it won't affect us this fiscal year, but next fiscal year. Next, on slide number 12 is collection sites, 42,100. We have 3 line items. The first is contractual services. That's due to the increased cost for hauling services for the dumpster containers. And the current expenditure is $9,000, but it is projected to increase to $15,429 annually. The second is repair and maintenance. This is an increase of $4,500 due to vehicle repairs. So the first is regarding hauling. This is for vehicle repairs of the truck. So let me be clear with that. It's for the vehicular repair of the truck. And then the third is the heavy vehicle supplies and vehicle supplies. That's for vehicle repairs. And we have combined those line items. They were separate, but we have combined that so we can get a true sense of what we are paying relative to vehicle repairs. And then collection sites continues on on slide 13, capital outlay vehicle. And this is a request for a new vehicle at the cost of $37,500 based on the state contract. The current vehicle is a 2013 vehicle with 150,949 miles. And this vehicle is needed also during inclement weather when you have to go to the various collection sites. And next is the LED replacement lights. This is going to be $17,000 for the lighting supplies and to enhance the lighting at our sites. And this will not only enhance safety of our employees and the citizens, but it will also result in energy costs. So we will see this $17,000 come back over time. Next is the Commissioner of the Revenue, 12,310, which is on slide 14. And the first expenditure is for BAI Net, and that's cost is $1,740. So BAI Net is a web-based application that enables citizens, businesses, and employees or to access appropriate information. For example, an employee can access their W-2 forms, their personal information through BAI.net. A citizen, they can access information in terms of their building inspection, information from the Treasurer and Commissioner of the Revenue's office. And then we move to the Commonwealth's Attorney line item, number 15, no significant increase. And again, I want to remind you, because we had a $4 million deficit, we had to make cuts. So it doesn't mean that there were no requests. It means that we had to make cuts in order to make the budget balance. Slide number 16, Comprehensive Services Act, that's level funded. Cooperative Extension Office, 83,300, no significant increase. County Attorney, 12,210, level fund. Debt Service, Fire and Rescue, 95,000, that's on slide number 19. And this is the debt payment to Reese Chassis, the fire truck. So the remaining debt for this rechassing of the fire truck is $7,557. And that payment should be complete within the first 6 months of fiscal year '22. So for fiscal year '22, the total debt payment was $16,373, and now it's going to go down for the next 6 months within the next fiscal year to $7,557. Next is debt services, 96,000 on page 20. So debt services had a $29,219 decrease. And this was based on savings as a result of refinancing solid waste in the fall of 2021 and the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office summer 2021 renovation debt. So it is very profitable to refinance where feasible. And then we move to District 19, Mental Health, 52,500-5620, that is slide 21. There's an increase of $7,955 due to additional state-mandated funding based on increased levels in program. Next is Economic Development, slide 22. It's number 81,500. So the Airport Commission, the recommendation is to level fund. For economic development, that's an increase of $5,500. That's for joining a national and international trade investment organization. And I know that one of your highest priorities is to create more business investments in Greensville County. So this was one of the organizations that I suggested we join to help us with this effort. So they will put us in front of various prospects.
Got one question. When did we join this development organization?
Since I've been here,
Okay.
yes. Yes. And I became familiar with them when I was in the locality next door. And working with them, we were working with a number of prospects, international prospects, and then COVID hit. So we kind of lost them. So I'm sure the new person is probably picking up on some of that since the economy is opening back up. Next is Chamber of Commerce, recommended to level fund, and the Virginia Peanut Festival level fund. Next is the Electoral Board, Registrar, no significant changes. Next, Emergency Management, 35,600, that's on page 24. So this is a little complicated, so hopefully I can give some clarity with this. So apparently this position had 4 different salary splits. 40% of the salary came out of executive administration because they were working on special projects. 40% was emergency management, 10% was for the fire department, and 10% was for transportation because they were supervising or overseeing the transportation projects. This position will no longer work on special projects and oversee the transportation projects. So the salary split is 90% emergency management and 10% fire services. So next we move to executive administration, 12,100, which is on slide 25. You're going to see that there's an overall budget decrease due to positions that have been moved to other departments. Case in point, the program manager, based on her skills and her previous background and the need in the planning department, it made sense during the reorganization to move that position to the planning department. So the funds that were in executive administration went with that position. Also, the director of human resources, their salary was included within the executive administration. However, we have a set-aside line item just for human resources. It's unusual to lump human resources in with executive administration. Also, the emergency services coordinator, as I indicated, 40% of the salary moved to the Department of Emergency Services. And then for the executive assistant, 10% of the executive assistant's salary will come from public transportation. So the monies that were initially going towards emergency management, that 10% is going to offset the executive assistant's salary. And then for travel and training, that's increased by $9,500. Some of the training is state mandated training because of the roles that we now have, or the additional roles with things like transportation and all the like. And then for vehicle supplies, that's increased by $4,500. That's due to the rising cost of fuel. So next we move to facilities and grounds. That's $43,200. We pulled together a list of facilities and grounds that we're responsible for. We are responsible for 38 different sites across the county. Yet we have 4 employees for maintenance and 3 for landscaping, and how many do we have? 4 custodial. And we have several for custodial. I apologize, I didn't have the exact numbers, but I'm sure while they're sitting there, they'll get you that number. So we're recommending 2 new positions. We have someone that will be responsible for overseeing facilities and grounds. We already have a ground supervisor. So we are asking for a supervisor for maintenance, a supervisor for custodian. One of the challenges with the previous person is that based on all of these buildings they were responsible for, then they were responsible for ordering the supplies and supervising, and it became very overwhelming. So if we include those positions, that will help to make that department more effective and efficient. It's very unusual to have this level of sites. And the sites are included in your packet so that you can see what all the sites are. And then the maintenance contract has increased by $9,000. This is due to HVAC maintenance and repair. And then water and sewer, it increased by $8,700. We are anticipating that there could be a water rate increase with the city. We're not sure, but just wanted to allot just a small amount of money in the event that that's the case, of $8,700. So continuing facilities and grounds on slide 27, that's telecommunications. That's to increase by $4,000 due to the MiFis. As you know, in a COVID environment, we had a lot of MiFis, and I'm going to make a recommendation very shortly to justify why they need a MiFi. Next, equipment and supplies, $4,125 for small equipment such as your weed eaters, your hedge trimmers, and similar equipment. And then computers. So we are looking at a computer that will maintain our help desk ticketing system. So if they are in their cars and someone gives them a ticket, they don't have to go all the way back to their office to see if a ticket has come in. They can sit in their cars, they can see that a ticket has come in, and then they can respond. It will be more effective and efficient. You're wasting gas. If you're here, then you go all the way to your site, and then you have to go to another facility. So that's why they'll need the MiFi, so that they can manage the computers from their vehicles. And they'll know what tickets they're responsible, meaning maintenance, that they have responsibilities for. And then you have slide 28, facilities and grounds building, 46,600. It was no significant increase in that line. And then finance, 12,430, slide 29. The BAI.net has been removed from the Department of Finance budget, and it has been placed in the Department of Human Resources. The Department of Human Resources has primary oversight and responsibility and use of this system. So that's why we transferred it from out of their budget, where the Director of Finance has the easy access of this BAI.net. And as you know, the account clerk position was replaced in fiscal year 22 with the Director of Finance position, which resulted in a salary increase in the finance department. So now we're at fire and rescue, 32,400. The American Red Cross, that's level funded. Next is the Greensville County Fire Services. This is for shared services with the city. So with fiscal year 23, there was an increase of $26,028, but the total budget is $22,400. Then you have the Jarrett Volunteer Fire Department. That was a $2,400 increase in their operational costs. Med Flight, that's a $600 increase. Then you have the Sussex Fire Department. Mr. Cyphers and I met with the county administrator in Sussex, and he has requested that the county reconsider paying 50% of the cost for their fire truck at $660,000. And this will result in $33 in annual costs. So this was not included in the budget. I just say that to make the statement that that's what they requested. But it is not included in your budget. No action has been taken on this. Then we have Virginia Forestry, that's level funded. So I just want to emphasize, are we clear that the Sussex truck was not included in the budget? Yes. Okay. So then we have General District Court, 21,200 on page 31. That's travel and training. That's an increase of $5,000 due to an additional judge. Then Geographic Information Systems, that's GIS, 81,700. That budget decreased by $10,349 due to the purchase of a new printer. So that printer was a one-time cost in fiscal year 2022. So there's no need to put this cost back in for fiscal year 23. Now we come to Golden Leaf Commons, 71,400. That is slide number 33. And the recommendation is for one additional employee, a facility worker, and that's due to the increased number of meeting events that's held here and the setup and breakdown. And right now, you only have 2 persons that's responsible for that. And there have been some challenges with those 2 persons that's been helping with the setup and the breakdown. Then you have telecommunications, increase of $960 due to the cell phones and MiFi. Next is furniture and fixtures. That's $1,200 to replace the broken tables. Those tables are the original tables when this building was constructed. And also under the furniture line item, capital outlay, we're looking at $19,130 to replace all 500 chairs. Currently, 125 of those chairs are broken. So in order to make sure that all of our chairs are consistent, we need to maintain or purchase 500 of the same types of chairs, and we'll also maintain the other chairs. And we are seeing some deterioration in some of those chairs. Again, those chairs are the original chairs and tables since this building has been constructed. And then for equipment, the refrigerator here is malfunctioning. I know in December we had to call someone to make the repair to the refrigerator, so that's a cost of $5,500. So next is Greensville County Government Building. I mentioned new positions on slide 26. In terms of 3 contractual services, the water cooler, that's a new service that's added. Previously, employees were bringing water from home or buying water bottles, so we just made sure we put water coolers on each floor. Also for snow removal, with our employees having these 33 buildings, there's no way they can handle the cleaning and snow removal and all the like. So the recommendation is for $30,000. It doesn't mean that we're going to expend that. It depends on the level of snow that we have for the various facilities. Shredded, $1,200. And then repair and maintenance, $2,000 increase. That's for HVAC and other repairs, and electricity, $3,000 due to rising cost of utility or electricity. Continuing with Greensville County Government Building, for heating, $9,000. That is an increase that's based on projected heating cost increase. As you know, everything is increasing in this climate. Telecommunications, there's an increase of $1,520. That's for the MiFis. Repair and maintenance supplies, $2,000 due to increase in supply costs. Then you have equipment and supplies, that's $1,375, again, for the small equipment that was mentioned previously. So some of these things I'm mentioning, they were mentioned previously. And then for the computers that I mentioned on slide 27. And then on 36, highways and street lighting, $41,200. That's slide number 36. There is a request, or I guess a proposal that has been on the table for a while for an additional light on Mills Road. So this has to go before the Transportation Safety Commission and then subsequently be brought to the Board of Supervisors for approval, but it will occur in fiscal year 23. So anticipating that it's gonna happen during that time, it's an increase of $6,000. And then street signs, that's an increase of $1,500. We are seeing an increase in the theft of street name signs. So that's why we're having to increase that line item. And then historical landmarks, 72,500 on slide 37. That's the Meharron River Arts Council. That's level fund. Housing, 81,300 is going to decrease by 5,000. Sussex Board of Supervisors dissolved the regional housing program in fiscal year 2022. Human resources, 12 to 20. I mentioned this to you previously. They're going to have their separate budget. The funds that was in executive administration budget will be transferred over to human resources. However, you're going to see we did increase the budget by $35,000, and that's the anticipated one-time cost for a classification and compensation study. And we want to ensure that our employees' salary are in alignment with the market and that we are able to maintain and retain qualified and competent employees. And then information technology, 12,500. Apparently, the IT manager and the IT technician salaries were previously split by the sheriff's office and the Commonwealth's attorney's office, but it's 100% within county administrator's office now. I'm not sure when that has taken place, when it took place, but it was prior to my tenure here. And then there's an increase of $10,450 for the maintenance contract for the all traffic solutions. During COVID-19, we purchased 4 portable signs to be placed throughout the county. I believe it's 4, am I correct? Yes, 4 signage, so that we can keep the citizens abreast of what's going on, and they can be used for other purposes to make the citizens aware of events or whatever's happening in our county. And then Gentech, that's the software for the cameras that's surrounding the county government building. And then the professional services line item increased by $4,500. That's for the base software and for CAS Severn. That's to support the Bright system. And the Bright system is very significant as it relates to primarily the finance, but it's used by other departments as well. And then the PC rotation, that is a decrease of $9,000. We were able to purchase, well, let me back up. The county had a rotation of all of its computers. So they will replace 10 computers annually. But when we received CARES money, we were able to purchase all or 40 laptops during that time. So you're going to see a decrease of $9,000. But know that when you had to do the rotation, because they were all purchased at the same time, it's going to be a challenge. We're going to have to phase in or figure out how do we replace all of these computers since they were all purchased at the same time. And also we wanted to ensure that our employees were able to telework. So that was the benefit of ensuring that we purchased all of those computers during that time. Then juvenile probation, $33,300 on page 42, no significant increase. Library administration, $73,100, is a decrease in $300 due to no capital outlay.
3,000.
What did I say?
300.
Oh, 3,000. Thank you for that clarification. And then we have local contributions, $68,100. You have the Citizens United to preserve the Greensville County Training School. You have Eagles Scholarship, Greensville County Water and Sewer Authority hydrant fees, the Improvement Association, Skipper's Water Treatment Plant, all of those we're recommending level fund. And then the Southside Community Corrections, that's going to increase by $7,219. And this is the request that the board approved on February the 7th, 2022. So when you made that approval, you only approved $3,609. That's only for 6 months, but to account for the total year, you're looking at $7,219. And then you have the Southside RAM, that's level funded. As you know, they have not, RAM has not occurred in the past 2 years due to the pandemic. As I understand it, although they have not been able to provide that service, the county has still sent that money to them. I'm not sure if you want us to hold it within our county coffers, allocate it, hold it, and if they request it, because they're going to provide that service here again, then we can release the funds. Southside Virginia Community College, $420 increase. Again, that's based on their enrollment numbers. Transportation local share, Gary's going to go over transportation expenditures when I'm finished with Fund 1, but you're going to see that there's an increase of $8,718. The truck driver training school lease, that's for the airport level fund. Virginia legal aid, an $81 decrease. And the Workforce Development Center, which is this building, the operating expenses, this is a $30,571 decrease. And then there were several new organizations that requested funds. Some of them requested funds at the level of $50,000 and $20,000. The first new organization is the Community Coalition of Sussex. That's $5,000. And this organization partners with the Food Bank of Southeastern Virginia, Eastern Shore, and Seven-Day Adventist. And they provide food for 220 families. And of those 220 families, 30 of those families are Greensville County citizens. And then you have Strong Temple, Top Hand, and Washington Park. All three of those organizations are working on our effort to reduce the violence that has been occurring in our community, particularly amongst the youth. And again, some of them requested 50,000, 20, and above, so I just recommended 10,000 across the board for all three. And the Southside Virginia Community College marketing. I've been having meetings and conversations with the president. I do serve on their board as appointed by you all about the opportunity to use this facility to educate our citizens. And one of the things that's going to help towards that is our ability to market the educational programs and services that they have. So right now, we're anticipating 5,000. That could increase, but at this point, 5,000. And then the local health department, 51,100 level fund. The magistrate, 21,300. Their telecommunications increased by $1,200 due to the additional cell phone that they have. And then for planning, 81,100, and I indicated previously that this position was once in executive administration's budget, and again, based on her high level of skills and background in planning, all of those funds were transferred to the planning department. There was no increase in salary, although the position title changed. Then recreational facilities, 71,300. I'm now on slide number 50. Community Youth Center, the CYC level fund, EGRA Emporia Greensville Association, level fund. Washington Park Center building improvements, level fund, and YMCA level fund. Refuse collection, 42,300, level fund. And this is the contract with GFL Environment. And apparently, the county pays this for Bellefield and Wyatt Middle School, and the county is reimbursed from the schools. And one of the things I want to recommend and we'll look at is just sending these funds over to the school, because really we're just a pass-through. On page or slide 52, refuse disposal, 42,400, that's level fund. Then we move to sheriffs. Court security, 21,800, no significant increase. Sheriff highway safety enforcement, 31,100, that is 53,820. So annually, you fund a vehicle in this line item. So that's for the vehicle and all the equipment that they put in their vehicle. So this really is pretty much status quo. So then we move to the sheriff's line law enforcement budget, 31,200. Now the sheriff requested 8 new positions, which included 4 deputies and 2 communications officers. So based on the uptick in crime, and particularly violent crime, the recommendation is for 2 new deputies. And also, they asked for, as I stated previously, 4 communications officers. When I shared with him that based on our budget, there's no way that we could recommend 4 communications officers. So he requested, he said, 2 is fine now, and maybe 2 the next fiscal year. But when I looked at the legislation, which they presented that to us, their emergency medical dispatchers are required to have medical certification. So their concern is that they only have pretty much 1 person, and if that 1 person is dealing with a medical incident, it's very difficult for them to answer the other calls. So he just need 1 additional person on, I believe, each shift, and help me with the clarification on that in order to respond to calls. You want to add? Are you going to say something?
No.
Okay. And next, law enforcement, continued contractual service, 911 equipment, that's increasing $1,810 due to contract rate change. Then the radio decreased by $4,000. Then the 911 equipment, that decreased by $50,000 because they have a new contract to cover the repairs. The maintenance contract increased by $28,042. And then capital outlay vehicles. Again, for law enforcement, every year you all allocate or appropriate monies for 3 vehicles with all of the equipment. However, if you approve the additional deputies, that means you'll need 2 additional vehicles. So that would be an increase of $269,100. So again, you automatically or have historically allocated 3 vehicles, and you will need an additional 2 if that's the case, if you approve those new positions. And then on slide number 57, school resource officer, no significant increase. Social services, 52,100, no significant increase. The regional jail, 33,200, level fund. And then transfer to schools. So for fiscal year '22, as you all know, the board approved a 5% premium over pure ADM costs. But it actually resulted in the county paying 12.4% over and beyond what was required. So we paid $6,083,318. For fiscal year '23, the recommendation is to pay the pure 5% premium, which is $5,908,828. So just so you know, you all recommended that 2 members of the Board of Supervisors serve on the committee to discuss how do we move forward with funding the schools, and Supervisors Conwell and Astrop serve on that committee. But again, as we were looking at the budget, meaning staff, with a $4 million deficit, if the money was there, of course, we would want to recommend that we fund all of these agencies at full capacity. But the bottom line is we had to recommend cuts in order that our budget doesn't exceed its revenues, the expenditures. But I do want to make you aware that this number is based on the ADM that we received from the schools, but that's significant, that is subject to change. So it could result in an increase once we get those pure numbers. So moving to on slide 61, it just gives you a breakdown in terms of how we funded the schools during this fiscal year. So in fiscal year 2023, the school is also requesting an additional $240,000, and that's for the 5% salary increase, step increase, and health insurance increase. Myself and Mr. Johnson, we are meeting with the superintendent tomorrow to get clarity on some of these numbers, and then subsequently, the Board of Supervisors, the city, and the schools, we have a joint meeting scheduled in this room on the 29th. So we'll get more clarity on the numbers relative to schools. But at this point, this is a very good estimate based on the information that we have today. Slide number 64, transfer to other funds. This is based on the capital projects in Fund 75, and Gary is going to speak to that when he stands up to give more clarity on that. Next is slide number 65. That's the emergency services personal property. It's an increase of $11,000 because the county pays 100% of the personal property for one vehicle of a volunteer fighter or rescue squad member. And then waste management. The Showan or Chowan, whichever is your pleasure, basin rain gauges. That increased by $9,000 as no budget request was received, but it's based on the invoice that we have received. And then for solar and water conservation, the recommendation is to level fund. So at this time, I know that's a lot, but we have a few more slides to go through. I'm going to ask Gary to come forward, and then I'll return to the podium when he's done.
Good afternoon. As Dr. Orge mentioned, I'm going to go over several of the other funds, and then we'll come back to you all at the end for any questions. All right, the first one we're going to look at is public transportation, which is Fund 8. And Greensville Emporia Transit, otherwise known as GET, is funded by federal, state, as well as contributions from Greensville County and the city of Emporia. Currently, those contributions from the localities are based on, for both operating and capital, are split based on the contract that was shared some years ago that was signed some years ago when GET was established. So as of right now, the contract is based on the last 3 years of ridership of origin. So for example, now, currently the city accounts for 81.68% of the ridership, and the county accounts for 18.32% of the ridership. So any of the local shares that you'll see, that's how the local shares are split for the cost. Right now, we're looking at the possibility of a route expansion. We are required to go through a transit development plan every so many years, and that transit development plan gives us a general idea if we need to look at expanding the route, if we need to look at other things, increasing fares, things of that nature, and it gives us basically a multi-year outline on what we need to do and move forward to grow transit. So as of right now, we're looking at a possible route expansion that would begin in April of 2023. Now, there are several factors that impact that. First of all, we have to look at and complete the TDP, which DRPT has hired a firm that is actually working on doing that for us to assist us with that. It's called the KFH Group. If they determine that route expansion is needed, and if we are awarded those funds, we had to apply for a grant for that. And if you all decide to proceed with that, then the earliest that would take place would be in April of 2023. We would have to hire additional staff and additional full-time driver, as well as purchase 2 additional new buses. In March, one of the things that we're looking at now and that we're running into, that most folks are running into, is the availability of vehicles. So as of right now, we know if the availability of vehicles continues, we would not be able to expand the route beginning in April 23 due to the amount of time. Right now, they're telling us anywhere from 12 to 18 months plus to get a new vehicle. But we still have to go through the process of applying for the grants to go, to see if we're eligible and see if we will receive it. And then based on all the other factors that line up, then that'll determine if we're able to expand the route. Now, if we do expand the route, it will be an increase of $3,153, and the operating costs are split. Federal, it's 50%. The state share is 12.6%, and the local share is 37.40%. So Greensville and Emporia split that local share based on the contract, and again, that's based on the 3-year origin of ridership. The capital, which is on the next slide, number 69, the county share of the 3 capital projects for fiscal year 23 is $5,565. If all the capital projects are approved, the funding breakdown will be as follows: 80% for the federal share, 11% for the state share, and 9% for the local share. Now, that's the worst case scenario. DRPT, which is Department of Rail and Public Transportation, provides us with those numbers. So that is the worst case scenario, that the localities would have to absorb 9% of the capital cost. The best case scenario is 4%. So if we move forward with any of these capital projects and are able to get them, then there's possibility the budget could decrease to 4%, depending on the grant and all those processes and how we are awarded. The capital projects that we have as of now is to replace one of the 19 passenger buses. Those buses are original to when the route began, and they're aging. We're required to replace those every so many years, and right now the estimated cost is about $100,000. We are also looking at capital projects to purchase 3 bus shelters, and that's going to be broken out if we receive funding and if you all approve over the next 5 years. We would phase in those bus shelters. We're looking at adding in 3 bus shelters each year, and that's also provided that we expand that route. If we don't expand the route, we would not need as many bus shelters. But the cost of those right now is $37,500. Also, the purchase of 2 additional buses for potential route expansion, an estimated cost of $200,000. Again, those costs are all based on us being able to expand the route. If we decide not to expand the route and we receive funding, we would still like to proceed with replacing the 1 bus since it's aging, and that has a lot of miles on it now. All right, we'll move on to Fund 10, which is Greensville County Fire Department. That is slide number 71 in your presentation. That's department number 32100. And there's a capital outlay vehicle, line item 8106, to purchase a new 2022 F-250 to replace the current 2011 F-150. That vehicle is used to house, store, and transport equipment to and from emergency response calls. Appropriate emergency response lighting and other equipment will be added to the vehicle, and that estimated cost for the vehicle and also all the appropriate lighting, lettering, things of that nature is $54,511. That's the only increase, significant increase for that budget, for that department, will be the purchase of the vehicle. Next, we have Fund 17, which is your solid waste, which is your landfill, which is $42,600. We have no significant increases in solid waste enterprise. Next, we have Fund 75, which is your capital improvement projects. And those projects start on slide number 75. We're recommending a total of capital improvement projects for $514,330. Those projects are the Greensville County Government Building Phase 2, which is replacing 10 heat pumps for a total of $68,161. The current units are over 15 years old. They're very costly to repair. We're having a difficult time finding replacement parts. In turn, if our staff can't repair them, then we have to call in someone to repair them, which incurs additional costs. So we're trying to continue with our phases of replacing those. 10 of those units were replaced in the first phase, and then 10 we're recommending to replace in this next phase, and then we'll have 10 more in the following phase. These are original to when the building first opened. The Golden Leaf Commons, the audiovisual systems replacement, the original system was installed in 2013-14. It's outdated. We continue to have malfunctions with this system. For example, sometimes you'll connect the laptop to it and it may take 15 minutes or longer. Sometimes we'll have the microphones that will have issues and that will malfunction. And this system's used a lot. So we're asking to replace this system. It will also give us the capacity to add more microphones. Right now, we're at our limit, so we cannot add any additional microphones. So when we have large meetings in here, for example, like the joint school board, board of supervisors, and city council meetings, we can't have multiple microphones for every group because we're at the capacity with our current microphones. To our knowledge, there are only 2 systems like this left anywhere in the state and the surrounding areas when we reached out to the vendor, so we're looking to and requesting to replace the current system. The next 2 projects, slide number 76, the Jarrett Water Treatment Plant expansion. The water treatment plant that we currently have is nearing the end of its useful life and has no unallocated capacity for the development of the Maymac Center or any other type of commercial or industrial development. The county's estimated cost of the design and engineering fees for the Jarrett Water Treatment Plant expansion is $330,908. Again, this is just for the design and engineering fees. The Washington Park Community Center renovations. The center first opened in June 2012. Since that time, the building has seen substantial wear and tear on the carpet and the walls. So we're requesting to have the walls repaired, including the walls and the ceilings, to have the sheetrock repaired, have it repainted, and also the installation of new flooring. Currently, there's carpet in a lot of the building, and it needs to be replaced with something that can be cleaned easier and does not have as much dust. So we're recommending to do those repairs and renovations for a cost of $25,261. And I will turn it back over to Dr. Ward.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
In reference to the replacement of the heat pumps at the government center, what
Yes, sir.
type of warranty come with that, with the new heat pumps?
I can
Or
ask for you.
years?
I can check for you all and get back to you and let you know what type of warranty comes with it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're coming to a close now. So just to give you a summary of all of those various funds, in terms of Fund 1, as I stated when I first began, we had a deficit of $4,299,790. So when you look at your revenues, which they will remain constant, $23,852,842, and you subtract the expenditures, as I indicated, we had to make significant cuts. And I just want to emphasize, if the money was there, we certainly would want to fund them at full level. But if the money's not there, it's very difficult to fund. So when you subtract your revenues from your expenditures, we now have a surplus of $134,202. But keep in mind, the schools could have an impact on this when we meet. And then when you look at Fund 8, Public Transportation, the revenues and expenditures, they balance. 531,482. So that's a good day when your revenues and expenditures balance. Fund 10, Fire Department, revenues and expenditures, they balance. $372,534. Fund 17, Solid Waste Enterprise, your revenues and expenditures, they balance $1,138,217. And Fund 75, CIP, your capital improvement projects, it balances your revenues and expenditures, $514,330. So that concludes our presentation, and I'll be seated, and me and my team are available to answer any questions that you all may have.
Can I ask a question before you go sit down?
Yes.
If we go back to the beginning to page 2, for your original revenues, expenditures, and deficit,
Yes.
you said the revenues of 22,615 were based on February's?
That number was based on, I'm sorry, that number was based on, was it December 2021? And I know when we went back and looked at the revenues in February, that's when we saw a little increase.
So this number could increase between now and June
No.
30th?
Well,
If taxes, more taxes are paid, so forth.
The initial amount that you see on slide 2 was based on December numbers that we
22.
received. We went back and looked when we had the deficit of the 4.2 million. We went back and readjusted the revenues up based on what had been received. We look at the tax receipts that we have received as of February 2022. So the revenues have been adjusted up to take into account any of those taxes that we've collected since then.
but the question is the potential of it increasing
Right.
because the number was through, so, no, okay, they're saying no.
Question. And I'm think I'm listening to what Tony's saying. This is February, so we saying there's no way we could collect any more money between here and June? Is that what you asking, Tony? Yeah. We can't collect no more money between here, nobody can pay no real estate property tax or nothing between here and June?
That we may collect additional money, but this is based on what we had collected as of February 2022 and looking at projections for the rest of the year and also looking at what we collected in previous years. So all those items were taken into account when we went back in and factored the potential for additional revenues.
Let me ask you the question then.
This
Go ahead,
number
Tony.
includes the projections of income between now and June 30th.
Based on what we received.
Okay, I got you, okay,
I just
Okay,
need
yeah, that wasn't
clarification on
clear.
that, too.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
So I'm pleased that we were able to go from a $4 million deficit to a surplus.
I think we all had to do that. I don't see how we could get around it. There's no way around it. Unless you're the federal government, and we are not.
Yeah.
Where that money at?
Yeah. We haven't got the $1.5 million.
So any questions? I guess I need to turn it over to the chair.
Do y'all have any questions or
I
discussion?
did have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Based on, all these new organizations that,
What
we
slide are
put
you
funds
on?
in for, let me go back.
It should start around 44.
Slide 44.
Okay, those are not new organizations.
Slide 44.
Yes, starting at slide 44 and going on to,
Well, I guess you're
slide
really-
46 as well.
Yes,
I think the new ones,
46.
your new ones.
Are we like just a wraparound for these organizations where they would submit to us what they're gonna spend these funds on? Or do we actually pay these funds to the organization and they, spend accordingly? How do we account for these funds?
Okay, apparently for the local contributions, Greensville County has historically provided funding to all of these agencies.
Right.
And I would request the level of services that you provided, how many did you serve?
Right.
What has been the impact of the funds?
I mean, I asked that question because some of these, on here, you see what they do in the community on a regular basis, but some of these, I mean, even down to like the Citizens United to Preserve, I mean, we haven't seen any progress in that particular project. So, I mean, what are they doing with the funds?
Okay, we will get clarity on that, but I know that's something that we have historically funded.
All right.
And Belinda, I'm gonna piggyback off what she's saying. I think what I'm like Belinda too, is this is because we have new organization, but in the past, they come before us and tell us, we're gonna do this and show us progress, how they progress and what the money was spent and how they spent the money. And I would like to see that also, as they can tell us, if we gave the $10,000 to whoever organization, they can say, well, this is how we spent the $10,000, we spent it on this or that.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, Supervisor Kane, you would like for a representative from the Citizens United to Preserve the Greensville County Training School to give an update in terms of how they use the funds?
Yes.
What-
And then even down to the new organizations that's coming on page 46, if we decide to go with these, amounts and support these organizations, what is their goal? What are they trying to,
Okay,
what do they
yes.
want to do?
And you will find a copy of their presentation in your binder, and we
Okay.
did meet with them as well.
Okay.
Okay.
So staff internally met with these new organizations.
Well, my only concern, I know with the training school, I know exactly what they do. But like here, so I'm looking at I'm like Belinda, I'm looking at just organization just came. But if that's in the booklet, I'll take the time and read it, and I'll just let it go with that.
Okay.
Something else that I would like to bring up too, and I know we discussed it last year and we had a lot of controversy over it, is the additional helping fund that fire truck for the Jarrett Fire Department as well. I know that it wasn't done properly. As to who was at fault with it, I can't say. I don't know. But we still, as all of us learned in our supervisor training, the schools and the fire and EMS, we're obligated to support as much as possible. So I would really like for us to reconsider some way of helping to finance, if not all of the 50%, at least a portion of it as well.
And I'll speak to that also. We have been spending over $30,000 down through the years, and Sussex County has not been hardly giving anything. And based on that fact right there, as this is, even when they decided to get that fire truck, they didn't come before us. And everybody know on CIPs, you don't buy a fire truck in 1 year. So that was planned at least a year or two prior to. It was planned, but they didn't see the need to include us in that process. And over 50% of the fires that they respond to is in Sussex County. And I've always felt that Sussex County should pay their fair share. And so it's already in their budget. And we don't need to bring that from their budget to our budget since they did it and it is already in their budget. So in order for them to have that fire truck, apparently they've already made the financial arrangements. And this year, I think, I looked at what we got, we're talking about giving them $40,000. Did I not see, for the Jarrett Fire Department? Did I not see $40,000?
That's for operating costs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was the operating cost.
No, I'm talking about, that's what I'm telling you, these are dollars before the fire truck came through, what we was giving to them over the years, based on what Sussex was giving, based on what Greenville was giving. And that's always been my complaint is why Greenville funding and Sussex is not, and over half the fires have been responded to in Sussex County.
One of the things I will mention is that during our conversation with the county administrator, he indicated he had a conversation with the previous county administrator and previous emergency services coordinator. So apparently there was a breakdown in communication because it never made it to this board.
And I let him know that when he came before me.
And can you get a percentage of the fires that they report to in Sussex and Greenville? I think that'll help as far as,
And I will say that it's been mentioned by Sussex, if we didn't do some sort of help support, they were gonna put this fire truck at another one of their localities and not in Jarrett Fire Department. And Jarrett's in desperate need of that truck. So, I'm just asking that you take it in consideration, see if it's some sort of way we can come up with some financing to help with that.
I think once we look at the percentage, I think it's something we can do.
I'm sorry?
I said, once you're gonna get back with us with the percentage as far as the fires being reported in each county?
Yes.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or discussions?
I just had one additional, down to the transportation and the possible expansion of the route. Are we gonna try to secure grant money for the purchase of the bus or just for the expansion?
The funding that we have applied for Department of Rails and Public Transportation does include money from both federal and state that would cover or assist with covering the operational and also the capital request. So yes, we've asked for grant funding for both of those.
Are there any other questions? Discussion? If not, I guess this concludes our work session. And we'll ask for a motion to adjourn to the joint budget session Tuesday, March 29th at 6 p.m.
So move.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. All those in favor signify by roll call vote.
Ms. Astrop,
Aye.
Mr. Burrell,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
Mr. Conwell.
Aye.